Dragon Ball DAIMA Episode 6. This episode may just be where DAIMA starts coming into its own, like it's developing its own identity as a series, separating itself from GT and Ball. Just some of the things that happened in this episode with the revelations about the Gleans, Glorio's, little thing that he had with Dr. Arinsu, and the other cast, Vegeta, Bulma, Piccolo, and Kirito finally, starting their, trip to the demon realm. But there's two things with Daima that is just a bit weird to me. This show seems to be like a lore dumping series. Now, maybe it's because I do videos on it, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I'm just saying it's weird. It's different. Maybe it's because I do videos on the lore and the Easter eggs, but it's like they just drop so much of it in this series to the point where some of it seems unnecessary. Like, for example, like in this episode, they mentioned stuff about the Gleans not eating food and stuff like that. They only drink liquids, which, if you remember Dragon Ball, that used to be a Namekian only thing in Dragon Ball, where Namekians would only drink water. And I thought to myself, what is this doing to progress the story? Is this going to progress the story in any way? And then I had to think real hard. I thought, okay, maybe from the prior episodes, maybe this is another hint that they drop in, that maybe Glorio is probably a Glean, which sounds stupid right now. But it's like he didn't want to eat the bugs with Kaioshin back when they were in that shop to get the Medi bugs, right? And it's already established that Gleans don't eat. They only drink liquids. So, could he be a part of the Gleans because he didn't want to eat that bug? Maybe it's just him, It seems a bit unnecessary. It comes off unnecessary right now, but maybe they'll have something for it later on. Another thing that seemed a bit unnecessary was the gender thing. Now, with the Namekians back on Planet Namek, when Dende said that Namekians only have one, he didn't even know that could be a female gender or whatever, because Namekians are only men, right? They produce asexually through their mouths and stuff. Here, it almost seems like, is this really necessary? Yes, they grow on trees and stuff, but is that, was that really a necessary line? Was it really necessary to say there wasn't, they don't have any genders? It's just weird. It's like, why? What is this going to lead to? I'm saying this, questioning it, what does this lead to? Not because I don't like the line, but it's like, what will this lead to? What is this revelation going to do for the story? I'm not mad at it or anything like that. I'm not one of those crash outs who gets mad at, trivial things like this. I'm just wondering, what does this do for the story? Another thing about this episode, or just Dragon Ball Daima in general, I mentioned how in the last review, I mentioned how them traveling makes it seem like it's like this show is a bit slow, like it's moving in ice water. But it's like they were dropping hints that Glorio was, just a shady individual. I think this would be the perfect episode to do it. It came at the perfect time, where it's like, now you're kind of trusting this guy. He doesn't seem evil to you, but they dropped it right when you're not really suspecting him to be evil. So that's a good thing. But I think the fact that it came in episode 6, with all the walking that, almost seems, some of it seems kind of pointless, where they had the Nyoibo, and Goku in chapter 158 of the manga used the Nyoibo to extend it and hit Piccolo. He's also taken that thing to the moon, so they could have easily taken that Nyoibo all the way across the third demon realm if they wanted to. It's magic. It's a magic Nyoibo. It's magic. So, there's different forms of transportation they could have used, but, just chose not to, which makes the show seem slow. And this is one of the big problems with, modern Dragon Ball, that it's stuck between that 10-year time gap. So the stuff that they're doing now is like a mix between slice of life and, heavy action-packed stuff that requires suspense and tension. But you won't get that suspense that you used to get from Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball GT, because they're stuck within a 10-year time gap. These characters are going to be fine. With Dragon Ball Daima, it's probably even a bigger, issue than it was in Super, because now you know they're going to be even more fine because you got Super. With Super, you knew they were going to be fine because of the end of Z. You know, so you know they're going to be fine, and it almost feels like they're just kind of spinning their wheels. Some of these episodes, it gives that vibe that you're just spinning your wheels. Because yeah, the show seems like it's moving at a slow pace. It may not be. Maybe it's just the weeks, but all the walking and kind of like the lore, some of it seems a bit pointless. It's like maybe you could have been using that to show, progress the story essentially. Even the Vegeta, Piccolo, and Bulma, they finally showed up in this episode, but it's like they could have cut to that team at any other point in any other episode, just to get make the series not feel as slow as it is, coming off sometimes. I'm not saying this show is slow, but I'm saying in some bits and pieces, yes, it does come off slow. Like it comes off a bit slow. And, maybe you could, this is a problem that, GT had early on, and the Tournament of, I mentioned this in the last episode, the Tournament of Power had this as well, where you're so focused on one area for such a long time that it just starts, it almost feels like you're stagnating. Things are just moving in place. The fight with Goku and Frieza had this on Namek, at least in the anime, because it's the same fight for how many episodes? Like 30 or something? Right? So it's like with not like many cutbacks. With Z, at the very least, they had to cut back to the Earth and stuff like that, because they caught up to the manga, so they actually did do that. With GT, they didn't do that till episode 25, and with Super, the Tournament of Power was just, I think they cut back to Goten and Trunks on 17's Island, or was that the manga? Well, the Tournament of Power, it was clearly inflated. The time was like clearly inflated. So yeah, that's another thing. Just time seems dilated. And, those are really the main, most important points about this episode. I think I mentioned in Glorio's little chat with Arinsu. Yeah, he could be using her, and she could be trying to use him. They could be trying to, double-cross Goma and stuff like that. Well, obviously, they're definitely plotting something against Goma, I guess. But they could be each, it could be a tenuous relationship where they're both trying to double-cross each other, right? So, yeah, that could be another thing, and aside from that, I mean, this episode, it feels like a lot happened in this episode, but when you think about it, I mean, all they really did was fly, and Goku fought glory holes. I mean, and the fight was cool, nice choreography. The choreography looked great, of course. Goku finally transformed to maintain his SSJ1 state for more than 4 seconds in this episode, and I mean, oh yeah, that's another thing about the fight, because all right. In this fight, Goku ends up winning the fight and proving to Glory Hole that, he could have easily ended his life. But I don't think that was all of Glorio's power. I think he was holding back, because he uses magic, and, what's her face? Pansy says, that's not magic I've seen before, or something like that. And Kaioshin, he gets real suspicious looking at Glorio's power. I'm thinking that Glorio, kind of like what Hit was doing, was hiding his true power, because how Hit had time skip abilities and stuff. He had way more dangerous assassin abilities. Glorio probably has way more dangerous, evil magic that he could have used that he was probably holding back. I think he has some evil, potential in him that he's holding back. And it's probably not going to be displayed until, the huge battle they have with, Goma and stuff like that later on. But yeah, that's pretty much the episode. Episode 7's looking like Vegeta and them are gonna getting their stuff together and going and get into the demon realm. So stay tuned for that. Also, watch my other videos that I posted earlier this week. They're in the cards. I'm plugging them right now. Y'all can see them on my channel. Check them out and check out the videos I make later on this week. I'll see y'all in the next one.